Africa.
Beloz, why are you the talk? Not so we get this program.
Now we not the husband material.
No, we not husband material.
Ole,
Never
Sam,
sure.
are we good to go? And please, I would like you to speak English. Please. I don't.
Now, we always hear that the best story is a love story. The story I will tell you is also a story about getting an education in Sierra Leone. The choice between a co-ed school and a single-sex school. Private schools against public schools. This is a story about life on the Fobe College campus. Mount Oriel, the Athens of West Africa.
Beloz, why are you the talk? Not so we get this program.
Yes, Binta, you did part of this program.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry, I forgot. Okay.
No. Life on the Fobe College campus. Making friends, lifelong friendships. Greetings from wherever you're watching. Today we bring you another episode of Johnny's 232.
First of all, this I don't understand. Anyway, continue with this book with English. But carry on.
From We Space at High Broad Street.
Now Mauritania ide.
No, na High Broad
Now
Street.
Mauritania ide near the field.
Binta, allow me lad on me.
Okay.
Today, as you can see, I have one of my longest standing friends. I think we met in school long time ago.
I didn't like you very much.
Fun fact, I have more female friends than male friends. Don't ask why. And this is perhaps the second longest friendship. Only one person beats this person. Yes.
Uda.
Me and Zem don't be friends longer than you.
You're in the same
Binta.
class, it all counts. It's the same thing.
Okay. Today, I'm here with my very good friend, Mrs. Binta Akibobet, and we're here to talk about schooling in Sierra Leone and the whole educational experience. So welcome and thank you for joining us on this episode of Johnny's 232, which we have tagged Schools Out. Remember, if you like what you're watching, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on your notifications so that you don't miss any of the episodes. Binta.
Now TikTok generation it's also all that subscribe, click, share, whatever.
Yes, subscribe, click, share, like.
You're doing a lot, but you're doing the most.
Binta,
Nah,
why are we even friends?
I didn't like you in school that much, so I don't even know why you would say in school we're friends.
And this is Limount. So first thing I would ask, why Limount?
Yes, Wiley Mount. I wish someone had asked my opinion because I wasn't asked. September 1996, 97 came on, and then my mama just gave me uniform and say you begin this new school. No one asked me because from one I was at the Annie Walsh Memorial School. Yes. I went to school with history, one of the best girls' schools in Africa.
Okay.
And then I was just moved to Limount. I think I'm hearing conversations between my parents. It was because we were having lots of strikes, the distance. Then, of course, every parent, now that I'm a parent, understanding, most especially living in such a challenging environment, you want to give your kids the best starts to life. So I think that was it for my parents, just giving me that access to a better quality level of education. But no one asked me.
I wasn't asked either. Interesting enough, I think that's a similar story. I wasn't asked. I know my parents had a difference of opinion. My dad went to the Prince of Wales, big Prince of Wales fan. So my dad was all for Prince of Wales. Whilst it's MPSC, na Prince of Wales I sit for. And my mom was like, no, not happening. Like, you know, so he ended up defense school. Mr. Fnuno, which school I was gonna go to until I think few weeks and everything.
Yeah.
And I remember going to Olimod on Podemba Road. That's where we used to get the uniforms.
Yes, get uniforms. Even when I was going to Annie Walsh, that's where you got your beret and a lot of school supplies. I wonder if that shop is still open.
No, I don't think it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So got the uniforms, went to Limount. And I remember Limount was Form 1 and Form 2.
Yeah.
So you came in at Form 2.
Yes, for those of you watching, as senior for Beloz, also older than Beloz, just so that's out there. Yes, me start from 2, you start from 1. So that's why I'm so confused why you think you and I were
Now we begin
friends.
the school. We started the school the same year, 1996. That's all that is in history.
Okay.
So now we begin that school day. And I know, so you were fortunate enough to attend 1 year government school and 1 year private school. For those of us who are not privileged, and I say privileged, not from government school, what was the hardest part of the transition and what did you miss most?
Then and now, I can tell you that what I miss the most is the history. It's, even now, I think that's what holds me back sometimes for Match Olgal, because it's such a school with history. There's so many traditions, so many little stories that people who went there share that I was not a part of. I can tell you that moving to, and this actually has less to do with my school being a private school, I appreciate going to a co-educational school.
Okay.
Because I think, to your point about you being one of my oldest male friends, it helped me, which I think is lacking in a lot of adults in our society, appreciate and have very strong platonic friendships with the opposite sex. Wherein even now that I'm an adult, I can go to these friendships of the opposite sex and be able to get a man's perspective that's not necessarily romantic or from my husband or from my family members. So, and I think it also helped us that went to a co-educational school in navigating that social space with the opposite sex. So I can tell you, I think it's less about going to a private school, but more to do with going to a co-educational school. Just because, again, at the time I was going to the Annie Walsh, it was such a good school, so I cannot, the curriculum, of course, was different. Going to a private school, we had to do the London O-levels.
EdExcel?
Yes, but I really cannot say that the education was different. I really can't say that in my time I saw a big advantage other than saying I went to a co-educational school. I can tell you one thing though, which was surprising to me. When I went to the first year of college, because I entered college after my O-levels, my brother, who was in a government school, the grammar school, actually was helping me out in my coursework because the WAS syllabus is so huge and it's actually so much more extensive that some things that were taught in SSS 3, I was doing at year 1 in college.
Okay.
So that was an interesting aspect to find that, okay, at O-levels, private school, I was a bit behind than, say, my brother who then took WAS to go to college.
So I hear you on the co-education. I think that made a lot of difference. But you know, interestingly enough, I look back, I reflect. Maybe it's because I feel like my school not exist any longer. I don't get the chance to match old boy. In hindsight, I feel as though knowing what I know now, where we are, not that I regret Limount, but there's a part of me that wishes, just like you, sometimes Mr. Binongo, pure 1 year, 2 years.
I agree.
Because I think there's that, I don't know if I want to say community or sense of belonging.
I agree.
There's something that's missing when you go private school, where, you know, and I'm always envious, jealous and everything, and, you know, but in spite of that, the Mount was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
I get why you will say you're not being like me business. I remember we were the first crop of students, and I don't know why I am proud of this, and Lord knows me, I want to go glad for that I'm so proud of this, but we were the first set of students that were suspended from the
Yes, I remember.
It's probably one of the records where we said I don't think I set any other record in a Limount, because, and I feel like it was for something silly as with a stone condo.
Yes, no, and it wasn't silly. It wasn't silly.
But it was.
As a parent now, I don't understand, because we get incidents at Limount where somebody be stone something, where the stone go knock somebody in Pekin, where the person in Pekin something me do am. Yeah, boys are just different. I just think, say, as a child, you're not there. But as a parent, I can understand.
We were having fun. We were playing.
For old stick and stone, not so for play. But I don't think, and another thing, going back to us that came to mind when we were speaking about private schools and how our generation, me and you feel I'm I didn't continue the government school, you know, go government school. I think though, do you think though it's different for our kids now? Because I pushed really hard for my daughter, and this is funny because we weren't asked which schools we wanted to go to, right? We didn't get to make that decision. Even my son, when I move on from one school to another in class 3, I put her down, get the conversation with him. You miss your old friends, but you make new friends. And I was pushing really hard for my daughter to go to Annie Walsh for a year.
Okay.
I really pushed for that. But she wasn't for it because all of her friends were going to somewhere else. They were going to a private secondary school. Do you think now, as we sit here in the way that Sierra Leone education is, and do you think our kids would have this and say, oh, I wish I don't go to school with more history? Although my daughter, the private school she does go to now, as you say, with us, Le Mans, Le Mans phased out, but with the private school she's going to now, it does have a long history.
So I don't think I'll give my son especially a choice. Sitting here, I know already that me picking the good grammar school.
So why?
Because I want to give him what I missed, and grammar school, I feel, you talk about your brother go grammar school.
Oh, both my brothers.
I feel grammar school
very proud
has,
Regentonians.
you understand, It has that rich history, rich culture. I want him to experience
Let me
that.
ask you this though, because this is a conversation my husband and I have. He's the same when it comes to our son. And say, me picking for go grammar school. Same story with me. He only did 1 year at grammar school and then the rest he go private school. But do you guys think, I really do not think it even has to do with the history. I really, really think that you guys think your sons should toughen up. So this is a whole other conversation. Do you feel that boys going to private school are not tough? Because I think it's part of it. I really do think it's part of it. I really think that dads want their sons to go to government schools or big schools for toughen up. The history is part of it, don't get me wrong. But you don't even go grammar school.
No.
So I can understand somebody will go grammar school and say, oh, I want match with me picking.
But you're not saying semi tough?
I'm not giving into the stereotype. I'm asking you, is that part of it? Why you want to let your son go? So your daughter, you want to let her go government school?
I think I would like, and maybe it's because I feel like that would please my mom. So I am open to my daughter doing a year at the Annie Walsh. I don't know. Maybe you get for do it to your mom. So it's less about.
I'll remind you of this conversation in a couple of years, but go ahead.
So it's less about me in that instance. I guess for my son, it's about me and wanting him to get that experience. Whereas with my daughter, it's like, I know it would make my mom happy, but we'll see where things end up. But I do get your point that for the most part, fathers always want their sons to go to, that's definitely a valid point. So maybe to that I would say maybe it's part of our subconscious. I don't know, it's there. But I think just before we transition to the other crazy schooling experience, what is your fondest or perhaps best memory at Le Mans?
My best memory would be where our teacher, Miss Top, of blessed memory, she had a birthday.
Okay.
And then our class, I remember I used to, and this is why I don't know why I'm not tapping into my creativity more, but I used to write poems and plays, and I remember that we put up a whole play and we had a whole assembly just dedicated to her, wherein she was our form teacher, and we had poems, we had plays for her that day. I think that was one memory that sticks out to me. And the reason why it was also very special is because Miss Thorpe was my mom's teacher at convent. And then when we started Le Mans, she's very old school. So she was like, the first few weeks we were like, this mommy a tough. She came across very strict. But then over time, she's like a mother. So I think that was my fondest memory. I think all my fond memories of Le Mans actually have to do with my teachers. And that's why I think teachers are so underrated in how much they influence us. I remember late Miss, she had this van. She was my form teacher in Form 4, and then she taught me literature. And I remember that she made me grow so fond of literature. I remember Mr. Cocker.
Yes.
He made me, I was a science student, he made me fall in love with economics. I remember Mr. Hingston. Mr. Hingston, even though he was in another form, he was like this uncle that would then, kind of like a guidance counselor. Madame Davis, she gave me my first job after college. She was my vice principal. So I think all of my fond memories really have to do with my teachers.
Yeah, and you speak of teachers, and I'm just thinking we have lost quite a few.
We have
very good teachers.
It's we're getting old because the people we considered old are leaving us. And another thing, though, I think about secondary school in general that is a big life, that is impactful to our life is we make lifelong friends from secondary school, I believe. I believe my most trusted, my most genuine friends are from my primary and secondary schools. I can tell you that.
Here I am. Not speaking of the other male friend who elect for mention, and we shall not mention.
I did so.
Really, Binta? Really?
Not jealous.
Really? Now, Frobe College.
So now you get the government.
Frobe College.
You did not miss.
It's
Frobe
funny.
College made up for all of the experience you did not have in a government school.
It did. And you know the interesting thing? I think most of us that now have kids, we're always like, well, picking and go government school and we're always like, me picking they go Frobe College. For nobody, me picking they go Frobe College.
I mean, if things change, I mean.
You mean a lot.
But again, so going to Frobe College as well for me was also an emotional thing as well.
Okay.
My papa na Frobe College, and I remember it wasn't even Frobe College when me amzi fogu. Na Baibure Hall I once for letting put.
You know Baibure Hall? I was Baibure Hall as well.
Man, all me go them. I go waka the way any me go that they go college.
All man go Baibure.
All man for go Baibure because na me papa go. So
Baibure is the best hall, just for the records.
Just for the records. So for me, going to Frobe College was also an emotional journey. I mean, there are limited choices in Sierra Leone, right? As to what college, but, and for me, mama, her whole thing was, I don't know if in their era when they were growing up, like Frobe College was this beacon, like it was so high up there, like if you go IPAM or Jala or what's it called, but when you go Frobe College, so my mama say, all me picking they go Frobe College. I remember one of my brothers, Takyu actually was like, oh, maybe I should go to IPAM because I did business. My mama say,
no,
not
happening.
Only graduates from Frobe College. Yeah, and Frobe College as a whole. So what are we speaking on Frobe College? The good, the bad, the ugly?
Let me ask now. So what is it you think has prejudiced us to that point where we're like, okay, me picking they go Frobe College? Do you think it's the frustration? It's the references? Do you think it's like what really is it? What can we know? There's a lot. What can?
So I don't know if it also speaks to the whole environment of Sierra Leone.
Okay.
Wherein you cannot be, and I don't want to use the word mediocre. I want to believe that we do not have support systems for people that need it. So me, I know I'm smart, I'm highly intelligent, but I struggled academically just because finding my way, just my own personal disposition, procrastination, and then when things are happening, I had this ostrich way of handling it. I bury my head in sand, but then everything else is exposed. So when I went to Frobe College and I was struggling in first year, instead of me seeking help to like find a solution, maybe go to a different stream or have additional tutoring, what I did was I just continue to go and fail, to go and get me carry forward them. Where I reach year 3 now, my mama they expects her for graduates. Yeah. Lord not going to that this stuff, it was a lot. But then I didn't have that support because then Nadia will go then come up with the grade point system, right? Where people not mean to understand. So if you get C's and D's, where you reach year 4, you not get the required grade for graduates. So you get to go collect.
So the system
more.
changed quite a lot.
It did.
I think because we have to be clear about that.
Yeah, because when we enter, we still have students where we do one bank, where if you sit one exam, you not pass, you sit your reference, you not pass, you go down. You go wait. Yes, but then we come and then everything, it was just chaotic. And it just speaks to the overall system generally in Sierra Leone, right? So for Frabe College, if you're not that grade A student on point with everything, you not get lane, you don't do things that you wouldn't want to do, you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
And I think people, we don't speak enough about those aspects.
Frabe College now boot camp. It's what I always like to say.
It's rough.
Now boot camp.
It's rough. Then they not even kind into where women live on campus. You get for the bail water, 5-gallon water. People like to say, oh, it make you strong. If you pass through Frabe College, you can do anything in life. But why do we want to glorify suffering?
Yeah. You know, Frabe College, it's quite an interesting experience.
It is.
I think we don't recognize how frustrating it is. I also think our parents, as you said, they had expectations in their own day. People me to tell me, but 10 days, we then we go for Frabe College, we put the lights on, you know, the hot and say, where they go holiday. And I'm thinking, how? Because the blackouts force.
My uncle said that they strike because they're not getting one type of butter. I'm like, huh? Who's part?
So they had those expectations, and we went in, and it was a whole different ball game. But again, there were fun aspects to Frabe College. I mean, the social clubs and all of dandy. Let me ask, because me not ever understand. Did you ever understand the whole black and white dynamic?
No.
Like, I never understood it.
No.
I don't say me a black man. I don't say now it's man. I don't know where that started from.
I don't know how you be black man, but
I don't know side Dan they begin from, but it was just a lot.
So okay, so white man 90 supports liberals,
Yes.
And then black man supports or radicals.
Or radicals.
So I really don't know. And I think the year where we go college, there was this big rift, right? Because you had people leaving social clubs wearing like, I remember I said some people, they left Dahlia because now Dahlia na black man club, but then a white man, so they left Dahlia and then some man go there flow, but some man, like it was just, I never understood it. To this day, I don't understand them. And I think it also speaks to even our bigger political environments in Sierra Leone. We all support certain parties because so we meet with people them, or because we get more people in this political party, or because we like how this political party in the singing, you don't sing. So I really think, like me, I can tell you personally how I end up now with, let me just tell you enjoyments. I remember the first time I see Deflo sax, the great Deflo sax. They get Sansiginas and I have to go.
And that was it.
I don't think there was anyone. Manifesto, what when it gets SU politics, we go na amphi for listening the manifesto. I think not just the fun for goals we party them with the hala. I cannot even tell you. With the lobby say, oh, let this me party be a minister of sports, because minister of sports sense small thing the cam with the lobby for this, say, okay, go push for with SLG. But I don't even think, I think now from college stuff, all of this hamburger, this one old place starts.
Would you do it again if you had a chance? If you had a chance. So you spoke about how you weren't asked.
If I had a chance and I had to do it again, I would do a lot of things differently. True. I cannot tell you that I regret Frabe College, because one thing when my papa me always did tell me, and because my life is in Sierra Leone, I have the advantage of
knowing people.
Any office
my mom said that, and it never made sense to me until I was an adult.
Any office
and now I realize that I hardly walk into places that I don't know people. So thank you, mommy. As much as I didn't like going to Frabe College, but
and it speaks to what we were talking about earlier about being relatable, right? So regardless of whatever background you came from, regardless of socio-economic background, regardless of where you lived in Sierra Leone, we experiences na Frabe College are the same.
Of course.
Frabe College will humble you. It no matter who you be, it will humble you. You experience not the same. Nobody next time say go Frabe College,
Wisdom
here, or
pap,
you know
get
talk about
reference,
that cow,
legacy, mad cow, not just cow, mad cow.
I don't want to explain about mad cow. We say mad cow don't do me na Frabe College. I go explain that because I'm not going to let me mama catch that episode today or that side day. So for me again, it also makes living in Sierra Leone easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're not strangers to anyone. Me and you, regardless of what you go on side, we all don't get the same experiences, right? So I wouldn't not do Frabe College. I'll just do things differently. I think now, sitting here now, I would ask for help earlier. I would maybe have changed my course, or for me, not more serious. For me, don't do it less for my business.
So,
long issues, so I mean, take a back seat.
Interesting question. And, you know, there's something I posted on Facebook a few days back. So we've talked about, you know, the private school, the privilege, you know, the regrets, wanting to go to government school and all of that. We went to the leveler that is Frabe College, same experience, irrespective of where you came from. What is it you think that somehow, some way seemingly makes our own story, our own experience sort of less valid to a lot of people?
Yeah. We were having this conversation earlier, right? So there's this elephant in the room that we don't talk about, and you did talk about it in Facebook, wherein, and I don't consider myself a rich kid. My father spoke about Ibon Musaya village, the first area where long to a sister, where they form 6. Frabe College, you know me the open box. Then say, oh, the Fulamana, the Juju, they don't know, not too close to get. My dad was poor. And as I say, I don't consider myself a rich kid because yes, my parents didn't try. My dad was an engineer. I would consider us middle income. I didn't want for anything. Funnily, out of all the 3 kids, I was the only one who went to a private school. Okay. Me too, because I didn't a grammar school and go. I remember during the war when my dad was out of a job, my mama a businesswoman, she had to carry the family financially. So there were struggles, but I wouldn't say I was poor. But then we do live in a society, we don't bokuna salon, right? And then unfortunately, there's a big population that is not as literate, has access to certain privileges that you and I have had. So because of that, we are in the minority, and I think, a lot of times people always hate. I don't think it's hate. No. I think it's not, human beings in particular, we don't like, or we have a fear of what we don't relate to or what we don't know. I think that is it. And so when I speak of my experiences and someone can relate to that, they're dismissive of it, right? And I think that is where that has come from. Say, oh, if you know to bubble pain or titi strain, that makes you any less Sierra Leonean. But then I think we did do ourselves a disservice because salon are one big one pot. We all so different, but we all so the same. Yeah. I remember you writing and saying you're just one generation removed away from poverty. Yep. We did do better, but our kids are less removed from that. But does that make my children, because all their life they don't go private school, any less Sierra Leonean? Me picking and I had them born. Yeah. They don't even get other passports. So I think I don't, and I in recent times, I don't like to use the word that is hate or it's toxic. It's just, we're not relatable to a lot of people. And I think we're also partly to blame. Because what happens is we find ourselves, because of that, we attach only to people in our same social setting. True. So again, to the point, we don't like the unknown, right? So I'm going to naturally gravitate to what I know. So Beloz go private school, even when we did college, me and Beloz Diwaka in the same social setting. So I think that is part of it. When you said that we're being dismissed, we dismiss things we don't relate to. I think that's really it. I don't think there's even a lot of thought into it. Rich kid, I just don't think there's any thought into it. We're all really, our stories are similar, just that there are degrees of it. And I do want to acknowledge my privilege on certain things, but I'm also not going to be ashamed of it.
Of course.
Because guess what? My dad, from abject poverty, he fought hard, and he learned book, and he get work, and he serious on his work, and things weren't handed to him. I had it easier because obviously my father, as you said, went to Frabe College, so certain offices, he knows somebody. But I can tell you that every job I have had since leaving college, I applied for it.
On your own.
I went for interviews for it. I think the only job that actually was like, oh, it was Madame Davis giving me a teaching job at Apex. But even that, I had to prove myself because I got for make a lesson notes, I got for teach. I'm not just, every job I have ever had since then, I have had to apply for it. I've had to go through interviews, and I'm very, very proud of that fact. And no one is going to shame me into enjoying what I have worked hard for. I will not make excuses for it. I will not. And everybody wants to give their kids the best life they can.
Absolutely.
Only someone selfish wouldn't.
Absolutely.
So if I can afford a private school, I want to put me in private school.
The Sierra Leonean educational experience. I think it's quite an experience.
It is, regardless of if you go to a private school or not.
Absolutely. Looking back, your journey, NPSC, best student, I might add.
Please,
Frobe
people,
College,
I just
Frobe
want
College
it to
no
be
make you
known.
feel like you not been the best MPSC
1995 MPSC, I got the best results in the country. 25 years later, my daughter replicated.
You
same.
did. That's family legacy.
I mean,
right
I'm just going to
there.
put it out there. These full are genes.
But looking back, one word, if you had to describe the Sierra Leonean educational experience.
One word.
One word.
Unique. For me, everything in Sierra Leone, that one word describes it.
We're unique people and a very unique
I don't
country.
tell you, Salon unique. I know more something than they happen.
Mrs. Binta Akibobets, this conversation could continue on and on.
I know. I don't even think
on.
we've touched on a lot of things, but still.
Maybe we will get an opportunity to do that.
Yes,
again.
maybe I should take Melvic's own episode. I think you gave me a very serious episode.
Like, you're not
really,
serious person. Okay, Binta.
First of all, but you know, this is what I should be doing, more serious things.
Yes.
Because I think people who do know me personally, they take me serious because I'm but I'm a very serious person.
Okay.
By me CV self is here.
And on that very serious note, this has been an interesting conversation talking about the Sierra Leone educational experience, private school, public school, all experiences are valid. We went through the same challenges. Of course, the grand leveler was Frobe College. A lot happened there. It was an experience, the Frobe College experience, and I think a lot of people can relate. We continue talking about my journey, but this is also becoming, a journey that a lot of people can relate to. Schooling in Sierra Leone, we've gone through that. Now school's out. In a subsequent episode, I will get to talk about adulthood, professional life, career choices, and all of that. But until I see you again, thank you very much for joining this episode and watching School's Out with my very good friend, Mrs. Binta Akibobets.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Binta.
Bye. Bye, everyone.